Hi guys, so welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create these beautiful authentication pages. So this is the home page, and then we have the authentication pages. So you can see this login page. We're going to create this login page, the sign up page, and the forgot password page. So this is the page whereby you enter your email address and then you receive email reset, which you click and continue. So I'm going to show you how to create this. And as always, we have this landing page. So this was a tutorial. I did a while ago. This was a tutorial on Django. So we were using these authentication routes to authenticate our Django backend using an authentication library called JOSA. So this has been requested most of the time. So let me just shout out to those people who requested for it. There's a guy called Mohammed. So Mohammed said, can you make a separate video and talk about how to build the front end? Someone else called Dinesh Tech also requested for the front end. So I just wanted to create that for them because they did request for it. And for everyone else who would like to know how to create such a beautiful authentication routes. It's also responsive. So the login, you can see now it fills up the whole page. The forgot password and the sign up. So let's get started. So the tech stack for this is Next.js. And as always, you can use Chakra UI. You can use React because Next.js is similar to React. So in case you can use this with Next.js, Remix, Gatsby. You can use it with plain React because this is basically React. And then for the styling, I'm using Chakra UI. So Chakra UI is a component library to build UIs faster. So this can still work on all the other application, but the concept taught here are not necessarily for Chakra UI or else. You can use either of your favorite libraries like ShardCN. So without further ado, let's get started. So I have the finished repo here, which is called Auth Pages Tutorial. And also, this project is hosted. So if you come to this link, I'll share this link in the description. You can click on this link to view the live link. So let's get started. Just open my terminal, cd to YouTube, have a folder called YouTube, and then you can create a new project. I'll just go through how you create a project with Next.js, install Chakra UI, so that in case someone is following along, they can. So in case you know how to do this, you can skip ahead to start. So let me make this one bigger for you guys to see. So to create a Next.js application, we just do npx create -next-app at latest. Then I want to use something called pnpm, but you can leave this out and then use node npm, the node package manager. So you press enter. Then we wait for it to install. The app name, I'll just call it Auth YouTube Live. I just wrote leave, but there's no issue. Yes, I want to use TypeScript. Yes to ESLint, not to Tailwind because we're going to use Chakra UI. Then yes to the app router, no to the turbo pack, and no customization. So as this installs, I'm going back to the docs for Chakra UI and see how we install. So if you go to the homepage for Chakra UI, you can start building with it. This is a component library. Then go to the installations, pick the framework you want. So I'm just using Next.js. If you're using Remix, you're using Vite, the React, you can start with that. And then you can start following all these instructions. So just follow this very fast. So let me go back to my terminal. Still yet to finish. I don't know why it is taking too long. Okay, we can give it some time. So it has completed. Then I can cd to auth YouTube live. Then we can open this with VS Code. And then I can zoom in. So this is a typical Next.js application. The first thing I always do in getting a Next.js application is to remove all this stuff provided by the global.css. Remove this file. We don't need to remove anything else because our focus here is to create that authentication layouts. So the next thing, I'm not going to remove anything here. The metadata, you can fix this. You can, maybe if you want to host it, but this is just a tutorial, so I'm not going to focus on that. Remove all this, and then start the Chakra UI installation. Since I'm using pnpm, I can just do pnpm install. If you're using yarn, you can do yarn in add. If you're using npm, you can say npm install. Okay. So there's an issue. Let me just do this. There's an issue with pnpm. I just recreate that because you can see it is telling me to pnpm install again. So hopefully it won't take much. It didn't. Then we can rerun our pnpm install Chakra UI. And then the next thing is to add the snippets. So you can see here it is saying snippets are built-in components that you can use to build your UI faster using the Chakra UI CLI. So I'm just going to run this. So to my VS Code, just run this. Then you'll see a components folder will be created here because this CLI is going to create those snippets. All right. So just wanted to finish faster so that we can start building our project. Also, before I forget, we have some public files that you might require. So we just need the background and the logo. We don't need the rest. So let me join. This is the background image you are using. So I can just download this file. So I can let me just save these files. So go to my YouTube file, save the BG. And then the next thing I'm going to save is the logo. So I hope you can see. So this is the logo that we are using. So just download this as well and save it there. Yeah, that's it. And then you can go back to our VS Code. Everything is done. And then you can see here we have a components with all the snippets we need. Then there's an issue here we need to fix because this interface is extending another interface and it's not adding its own value. So you can see there's an error. So what we can do here is to remove this instead of extending, because we did extend and we not do anything with it. So export. So you can see that error is gone. Okay, just use a type here. You can see still this type, this Chakra stuff, but there was always some issues because it was extending another interface and it was not adding its own custom properties. So just check in for any errors. These errors can prevent you from deploying. So, and then finally, let's add a button and say hello. And then finally, we also need to include Chakra UI's provider to our application. So just come here and say provider. Then it gets imported. And then we can use our providers. So we have just wrapped our whole application with this provider, which will provide all the Chakra UI stuff. This is just set up, so don't worry too much. Something else I want to do is to force the theme. Now we force here. So you can force a theme. I want it to be light mode. I don't want any dark mode stuff. This is all dependent on Chakra UI, don't worry. And then that's it. So okay, we have some few final things to do. To add this suppress hydration warning and to add the optimize. So go to the layout, the HTML, and then there's something else here, the next config.js, mjs, the same thing. So I can come and add here the optimization. So we are finally set for the component library, and then let's see what we get in the browser. So as that loads up, so we are going to start with the home page. So this home page has a simple navbar and the login here. So what do you think we should do? So the first thing we are going to do is to create a container that's full width and give it a background image. And then inside the container, we can add the simple navigation bar and the text. So I hope that's clear. So what are we going to do? We are going to add the background image. We can use a flex container to add that background image and then add the navbar. This one is flexed, justified space between, and then we can add this text and then we can start building up our auth. So everything is working. You can see the hello world, the button. And if you're wondering where that button is coming from, you can come here and search button. So this is exactly what I did. So these are components that you can easily add to your project. So let's get started. So the first thing, creating this container, then adding the navbar inside. So let's close that, go back here, and then let's start building. So the first thing I want to do is flex. I want to use a flex container. So let me explain what this does. So this is Chakra UI. And a flex container, this is a predefined component. It's a div. So if you hover here, you see it's a HTML div element that has these properties. So let me say it has a class name of test div. So in our CSS, we can say test div. And then these are the properties that the flex container in Chakra UI has. So this is a pre-built container that has these properties. So display flex, just like that. So that's a flex container in Chakra UI. So these are snippets components that you can use in your project. So this is a flex. And basically the flex has there's one style, display flex. Okay, so you see this is a pre-built component that we can use. So don't worry when I do all this, I'm just trying to explain. So what do you want our component to have? We want to add a height of 100 V height. So what does 100 V height do? So this is the height of the window. Okay, you can see this one can't scroll because we have said that this is the height of the window. The next thing we shall do is to add a background image. So to add a background image in Chakra, just do this. Okay, so if we go here, I have my BG. Let me just remove all these. I don't need them. Okay, so let me again tell you what Chakra UI helps us do. So what does Chakra UI helps us to do? This is a component library. So it has pre-built components. So as I said, this is like a div. This is like a div with a class. I'm just adding a class for reference, my div. And then these are the styles that Chakra UI is adding. So let's say this is our CSS. This one has just one style, display text. So what else does it help us? It helps us to pass props as styles. So as you can see, I said BG image and this weird syntax. That's exactly equals to background image. This one will translate to this. I hope everything is getting clear. So what you are seeing here is exactly equals to what we have here. And if I add if I add more props or more style props like gap 4, this one will come here and equate to gap 4. This will be the final compiled CSS. Yeah, so I hope that was a nice introduction. And if you do that, you can see now. I did not do anything, I did not add background image feed, all those, and now it is looking nice. So we can continue. So the next thing we need to do is to add this navigation. This is simple. We just add the navigation on top and give it a width and then make it blurred out. Just that. So in Chakra UI, instead of using a div, you use a box. So a box is similar to a div, but now this box will help us pass in styles as props. So I want to do a box. So I'm using a box because I want it to be the container. I want it to be the container containing these flex. Because now I can add the color here and then add some margins. Okay. So we can do a box. And the background color you're going to use, you can copy it from me. 245, 226, 197. And then you can add an opacity to it. And then we can give it a width of 100% and the height of fit content. So we don't need to do that. We don't see anything because we don't have any content. I can also remove this. You can say height 10%. So this will be 10% of the height of the screen. Okay, that's it. But now we want ours to just be the same height as the content. So that's why we say height is fit content. So let's continue. The next thing we need is a flex container. And inside that flex, we add two things. You can import an image component from Chakra UI. And then this image, we add the source to be the logo.png. Then the box size. The box size is the width and height will be 10. And then the alt will be logo. So if you wonder where the logo is coming from, it's coming from the public. So this is the logo. Okay, so we have the logo and then we have another flex. I can use a button. And then this one will say login. You can see them here. So what do you do to bring this login to the other side? So you just come here and say justify space between, and that's gone. And then you need to add a margin. So you can say something like margin X 6. Okay, that's nicer. And then you can see the logo and the button are touching on top and below. So we can add a padding. And then you can say padding Y. So padding Y is for vertically. Then you can see the padding is kicking in. And then when these items come close, let me just show you. They didn't come close. I wanted to add a gap here, but that's okay. So let's continue. This button is not similar to what we have here. So what I can do is that I can go to React icons and look for a login button, the login icon. I need an icon there. So I'll just pick any icon here, then we can follow from there. So this login has an icon in the front. Just paste that and import it. So the React icons come pre-installed when you install Chakra. So the reason is not. Let me see. Okay, so our MD login is there. Then if you go back, it's there. We can leave it as a button, or else we can use a variant to remove all those shades. And the variant should be plain. Now looks similar, and then this one should be bigger a little bit. So you can do LG. So keep it at that. Doesn't have to be exact. And then you can use a font weight of bold. Yes, I'll just use that. Okay, that looks nice. Then we can add a link that will go to our /login. We'll create the login. We're going to create the login in a bit, but let's first create that link so that we don't forget. Then we add a href /all/login. So that's a link. We'll create that route in a bit. So finally, we want to add the heading. So the heading will come outside the button. So similarly to how we have a button component, a box, a flex, we have a heading. This one is a dedicated heading in Chakra which renders a H2. So this one is a HTML heading element. So initially it renders a H2, but you can also render H1 by saying as H1, as H2, as H3, as H4, like that. And then you can say, welcome home, TechWithTwin. So it comes here. So that shows we have an issue. It shouldn't be in the same component. Okay, so let's go back and fix that. So instead of using a flex here, because we want it to be in columns, we have another component called a stack. So a stack is basically similar to a flex, but now it has a flex direction of column. All right, so if you go back, now the heading is nice. We need to add a margin to the heading, or a margin left, and then change the color, and then that's it for the home page. So let me increase the font size to something like 3XL. Margin left should be something like 4. And then a color of RGB 245, 226, 97, and then 1. Technically, you don't need to add an opacity if it's 1. Yeah, so let's make it cleaner. And that's it from our end. So that's how we create this to this. Okay. So the next thing we are going to create is the authentication route. So something you might notice, the background image in the authentication route is not changing. Whatever is changing is the content. So that should tell you that, right? You see, the image is not changing. So that should tell you that the auth itself has a layout that all the children inherit from. So let me show you how we create the layout. If right now I go to the login, page not found. So we are going to create that. So the first thing we need to do is to create the route for the auth. And then inside the auth, we create a layout file. This is Next.js specific. And then in the layout file, you can use this. So I'm using an extension to generate snippets. You can call these auth. Let me just copy all of them. Auth layout. And then in any layout file in Next.js, it gets a children prop. So since I'm using TypeScript, I need to annotate that. So the children types come from React node. And then we grab the children of type props. And then let me just use a box here. So a minute. Yeah, so we can continue. So the auth layout. So I'm going to use a box here. So I'm going to use a box and then we render the children. Okay, so what do we do? By rendering the children, this means, so this is our layout and then this, whatever comes in here, this is the children for the login. This is the children for the register. And then this is the children for the reset password route. So let's continue. So what I want to add is in the auth layout, let me just show you how the layouts work. If I turn hello world on the auth layout, let me just create the login and then this one is the login page. Okay, so if I go to the login page, I see hello world. Why? Because this is the layout. So the layout is what governs what is shown in each route. So in our layout, we grab the children. The children in this case, if we are in the login route, is the login component. Okay. So if we render the children, let's see what you see. You see the login page because now the layout is beneath it. So what we can do in the layout is to add a background image. So this image will be present in all routes. We add our background image and then we can do some background size. So background repeat. Say no repeat. Then you can use a minimum height of 100 V height. So in case maybe the form gets too big, we allow it to scroll. So we still don't see this, and I know why, because now all the layout is beneath the login layout, is beneath the login page, but the login page is occupying the whole space, so we can see. So we can start creating the login page. And then what I can do here is to use another component in Chakra UI called a container. Chakra UI. And then since we want this login page to take a section. So this is the container. And then this container has the contents. You can see this container is constricted in the middle part. So it has a width and the height, a maximum width. So what I can do here is to come here and add a maximum width of LG. Okay. And then let me just show you. So let's continue creating the form. You can use a stack. As I said, a stack is a flex with the flex direction of column. Okay. So I can use a stack. And then we can give it a height of fit content. So a height of fit content. I want to start creating the layout. So the next thing we can create here is the link. No, the image, the logo. So let me just show you which logo is that. The src to be logo.png. Height will be 150 pixels. Alt logo. So let me just show you which image is this. So this is the image I'm talking about. This is the logo I was trying to create. And if you go back now, it starts being bigger than we anticipated, but we will fix that. Or is the scale? Let me see the scale. So transfer. So the logo is too huge. We can reduce its size by scaling it down to 0.7. So it still gets small. And but okay, we need to fix this. I can wrap this in a flex container just to make sure the styling for the middle, if I want to align it to the middle, is working. And then you still have an issue. Okay. So when using a flex, the flex is able to position the image to its right size. So we can use that. And then we need to give this a maximum width as well. So we said the maximum width is large. And then the height as well. So we can do the maximum width of large. Then we can display this one as a flex. And then align items to the center. Justify content. Center as well. We want to place everything in the middle. And then give it a height of, can give it that height. You can see now everything is centered in the middle part. Okay. So and then you have, so let's add a background color here. BG of red. So this is our component. So that means our layout is not working as expected. Okay. Let's see whether it's the layout. We missed a quote there. So if we go back now, you can see. I think also I don't think I need all these. So we can still continue, but the main reason we are The main reason we are adding this is to align the items to the center. Okay, so then now this one, the background should be white. And then after the image, you can now start. So we can start creating the heading, which says log into your account. Log into your account. So let's see after it loads. So you can see it, log into your account. So this is very small. We can add some. So we can add a width here. So what width can we use? Or maybe add a padding. Can do a width or a padding. Okay, let me just do the padding. We can do like padding Y of 8. So let's do something like the padding Y of 8. Then you can add a box shadow of medium. And then you can see we have very sharp corners. So we can add a border radius to it. So border radius of XL. Then now it starts to look nice. All right. So we can add some padding X. Let me just do the padding as well. So now this one looks a bit nice. And then we can continue to create the rest of the pages, the rest of the stuff. So the next thing we are going to create is this tagline. Okay, so we're going to create that tagline. So you can see the tagline is a flex container with, you can see it's a flex. By a flex, I mean these items are aligned side by side. So we have this text, then this button. So we can continue here under the heading and say a flex. And then you can say a text of text. Then we can say don't have an account. So you can see this one is yelling. Need to use some escapes like that. So this one means an apostrophe. And then we have a button. It says, so this button says sign up. And then the color for the button. So you can see this color I'm going to share. You can see. So we have another issue. Let me just add a width to this. Okay, so do I need a maximum width here? Let me just use the width. So let's just focus on creating the component and then we'll focus on the styles later. So another issue we are facing is that these log don't have an account and the sign up button are not aligned to the middle. So in a flex container, you just come and say align to the center. You can see now they're aligned into the center, and then we need to gap them. We need to give a back gap because they are too near each other. Then you can do a gap of 2. Gap of 2. And then this button has a variant of, it doesn't have a background color. Then we change the color of the text. So what we do here is a variant. We say plain. and the color is hash 9E8625. Then this one is nice, and then you can see this one has an underline, so you can add that underline. So text decoration, underline. If you go back, this one is underlined. Then we need to increase the size. So now this one looks a bit better. So the next things we are going to create is the form fields. So we have the username and username field and the password field. So let's just create those. To create those in Chakra UI, just come and search. We use something called a field. You can see this one is literally copy and pasting. So this is the syntax. So I'm just going to walk you through it. So you're going to start with the username. So since this is a different section, so you can see section A, section B, we can wrap it under another stack component, which has a flex direction of column. Then we start with the so we can start with the field. Let me just make sure it is imported. So as I showed you where you can get those components, field.label is the name, and then input. Now then I try input. So this is also an input from Chakra UI. So you can see how easy it is to create components with this. So this is an input component. So this is an input component to import from Chakra UI, and then this is the input. So the input has a placeholder of enter UI username, and then that's it. The next one is we can just now start copy pasting. The next one is for the password. Now we have another issue here. Okay, so we can say enter your password, or the placeholder should be, we can do placeholder 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. You can also do, so there's something else I added, this button. So if I say my password is password, then I want to see it. So it's basically simpler because you just toggle from password, the text type of the input from password to a text. So, but we'll add that later. So you can see our input fields here. Okay. So these are the input fields. So let's first fix this issue. First of all, let's align this to the center, this to the center, and these ones to the center. So you can say align to the center. So now this one aligned everything to the center. I think we can align individual. Justify the center. Text align to the center. All right. So the next thing I'm going to fix is the width of this. So I don't know why this width is not working. Okay, so you see where the issue is coming from. I just added a background color here. You can see. So think we can style the container itself. Okay, we can style the container itself and then go to the layout and align everything to the center. Do you think? So let's do this. Okay. So then we don't need a height of 100 V height. Okay. Then we can do the width of Excel. Okay, looks nice. And then we go to the layout. Then instead of a box, we can use a flex. Then we can say justify a center and align center. So justify in a flex is for the column. So let's say this is the whole column. They start here, justify flex start, center, end. And then the align is horizontal. So align to the top, center, bottom. So if you justify to the center and align to the center, that items gets to be in the center. So let me remove these imports. Then you can see our component is working. So if we go back to the login, I don't think I need this. I can also use a stack instead of a container, but still similar. Okay. Display flex. So instead of doing all this, I can just simply use a stack here for now. Then I don't need to do all this. Okay, so it looks nice. Almost similar. Okay, so the only thing that is maximum width, let's use a large, because I see this one is thinner, this one is more wide. So we can use a maximum width of LG. And then what else? So what else? Let's first finish. So the next thing we need to add is the remember me and the forgot password. As you can see, the remember me and the forget password is a flex that is justified space between each other. So a checkbox, just come to Chakra UI, checkbox. There you have your checkbox. So you just come to your project, and then we are going to add that checkbox. So I'm going to introduce you to yet a new what can I call it? So we have a stack. I think we can continue with the stack. Yet a new component called a horizontal stack. So what does a horizontal stack do? A horizontal stack basically has display flex, and it has a gap inside it, and flex direction of row by default. So you're going to create a checkbox. As I have showed you, you can just copy paste that from Chakra UI docs. So checkbox dot root. I can just copy paste and show you how you just copy paste this. Copy this. And then you can change this to remember me. And then the next item is a button. Similar button like the one we created. And then forgot password. So we can give it the color. It was hash 9E8625. So if we go back, we have it. Then we need to justify these items in a space between. Let's come and say justify space between. Now they are working the simpler way, the similar, and then we align them to the center. So we align to the center. This one is working. Then we add a gap inside this stack. So we increase the gap to something like 4. Looks nice. And then we change the variant of the button. Plain. Okay, text decoration of underline. See it? And then that's it. I think you can increase this font size, or it looks nice. And then the final thing we add is the sign in button. So we have that stack, and then finally we add another button. Sign in. So it's black. Can we remove it like that? I think we can, or maybe we can just add the color. But I think it also looks nice like that. So I can just do a background of hash this background. I think I should have added this in the theme. But let's continue. The color of white. Type of submit. We don't need this because we're not going to add that. And that's also, we can see this one is not yet aligned to what we wanted. So we can go back. Okay, we can go back. This one and just justify center. Yeah. Okay, guys, and that's it. That's how we create the auth for this. So the next thing is to make it responsive. I think it's almost responsive. I think. The width here. Now there is something interesting about Chakra. We can change the width dynamically by using this. So in the base, this is for phones, mobile phones from 0 to 465. We can use SM, and then on larger devices, we use LG. So this is how you write media queries in Chakra. So it's quite simpler. So if I go back and come and search breakpoints, you can learn more about Chakra UI breakpoints. So you can see the tablet, the wide, base, all this. If I go back, I think in the medium, we can say we can use 100% here for the width. And then for the height and base, we want it to be full. So 100%. And then the medium, fit content. Let's just do that. So let's see. So this is not working. So let's see why. Let's say red, white. Okay. But this one is refusing to go all the way. Okay, so if it doesn't want a width of 100%, the width is working. Or maybe viewport width. We can say viewport height. Okay. So that's it. So we'll stop from there on our login route, and then we can continue to the other routes. So let's continue to the other route, which is the register. Something interesting is going to happen. So I can copy paste everything from the login page, take it to the register page. Then we'll start changing from there. So this is the register page. And then we'll change that because now this one will be sign up. Something I forgot to show you on the login page is we don't have this icon. Okay. This is a very nice functionality for user experience, so we cannot leave it out. So the way you do that is that you don't even create anything when using Chakra. You just call a prop that is provided. So it's called the, so make sure I'm in the login page. So this prop is called, let me look for it. The password here. There's another component called input group. You're grouping a component. You're grouping an input component. Okay. Now we can group, we're going to group the input itself, not all the other stuff. So what's up with this? So we're going to group the input, and then what are we adding at the end? Come here and add the end element. So the end element will be, so here, what I did is creating another component that will be responsible for that. So let me just show you how to create a new component. So I'll just call it show password. And then I'll just show you. Let me just go. We're going to create another component called show password icon that will be responsible for working with the icon, because the markup can be quite large. And then the first thing we do is we call another component to render a button that is clickable, not render an icon that is clickable called an icon button. Let me just not add a variant right now. And then we need two props here. So when we go back to the login, we need to track the state of whether this password field is showing or not. Okay, so we can use a state hook to do that. Okay, so write that, and then so the end element for our component, we are going to call the show icon. So, and then we need to pass it two things. So this password show password icon component is responsible for showing the icons and handling the click events. Okay, so what we can do is pass the open, is it open? And then we can pass the on open function. But now in our case, it will be on toggle because you click to open and to click to close. So you can just call it on toggle and then set open. You pass in the set open. So we have our state. This state is what will control whatever will show up in the end element. Okay. And then in our input, we say the type of the input. If it is open, text. Otherwise, password. I hope you will start to get whatever you are doing. Then if you go to the show password icon, show password, what we can do now is accept these props. We can create an interface here and say open is a boolean, as you saw, and then on toggle, so because this is a state function, you can just come here and check grab the annotation for it. So you can copy this, go back and annotate that like that. And then here now we can open on toggle. And then this one is from the props. And then here we say, is it open? Let's go and check for an I. Don't worry about the errors. So I, let's get fancy, but you don't really need to get fancy when it comes to working with the icons. And then when it is closed, we want the I closed, this one. You can use any icon you want. No one is preventing you from doing that. And then make sure you open. So whenever someone clicks this button, so you can come here and say on click. Then you can create a function called handle click. And then handle click is equals to this. We call the on toggle set state function. We grab the previous version. So if you are new to the state, you can check out my tutorials. I have a tutorial on the use state so that you can understand. So let me just go quickly through what is happening. So this is basically this. So when you click, this is a click event. When you click, we change the icon and make sure it is not seeing. When you unclick, we see it. So on click, the icon, which is wrapped over the icon button, we can, if it's open, we see the eye. If it's open, the eye is closed. And then on click, we handle this and toggle back from our main component, the open state, which in turn comes and changes the input itself. So let's go and see. Okay. We have a very nice error here. You're reporting a component that needs use state that has on a client component. So use state works in a client component. So just come here. This is Next.js specific and say use client. Then the show password is also handling click events. Use client. So if we go back, now you see what we get. So we can say TechWithTwin and then open, close, open, close. But now you can see this icon looks ugly. We can come here and remove, add a variant of plain. That's it. So the functionality is well achieved. So we can now continue to the sign up. So I'm going to add this icon to the login page. So go faster to the login page. I saw the sign up somewhere. This one. You can add a link from Next.js. Then href will be /auth/register. And then we fix that button inside. We do the same thing for the forgot password. Link href/auth/reset. Then we fix that button inside. Okay, now this one looks quite similar to our original version. Now we can click to sign up. Okay. So we are actually in the sign up, but because I copy pasted the home page to the sign up, so we can now go ahead and start changing the text, and then we add the extra fields. I think we have username, email. So here you have username and password. So here we are going to add username. We are going to add an email field, password, and a confirm password. And then I'm going to leave you with task. So this task, you can do it and then share the results in the description or the comment section of how to add these icons that I added in the home page. Now in the login page, to our password and forgot password. You can add one that controls both, but it's up to you now. So the first thing you're going to change is the text, register for an account today. Go back here. You say here, register for an account today. Then already have an account, login. And here you just change this one to, you say login. So we have a username, and then we can push this. So the login one, we're going to push it to the login page. Okay. Okay, so we have the username. Now we'll add an email field. You just copy paste this and do email. What else? We have a password and I forget. Now the confirm password. Okay. And then we don't have all these now. Then this one you can say register. So now if you go back, very nice. So as I said, as your task will be to create the icons here. And then finally, we are going to work with the reset button. So forgot password, we're just going to we're going to copy the new folder reset page.tsx. Now let me copy the register and do some edits. There is a reset page. So the reset page doesn't have much. You don't have the username, you only have the email, you don't need the password, and then the confirm password. And then you don't need the they can remain. Then this one should be reset. Okay. Enter your email to reset your password. So enter your email to reset your password, and then you have remembered your password and a back arrow icon. I know this might be wrong, but there's no issue. So if you remember the password, you don't go back to the login. We can use, yeah, you can just go to the login. I'm not going to add this because this is not user friendly. Let's stick to, okay, this now is working. Then go to the forget. Okay, very nice. So guys, that's it. So that's it for our tutorial. As you can see, everything is now working. The final thing I'm going to add is a link to the logo on the home page, on the login page, to go back to the home route. So anyone who will go to to clone the repo on my GitHub, you'll find that this one is the one I have just created is a bit different because this was live coding as well. So most of the things I have removed them, as you saw in the beginning, the login page. wasn't looking as it should be because I did some edits live. So I'm still going to push this repo. This is the repo we are going to use. But this still will be there. And so that's, let me close that. Then I want to add a link to the logo in the homepage. So let me just check. So this one, go to the login, the image itself. href should be go to the home route. And then you quickly copy the image to the link itself. Save that, go back. Then let it load. Yeah, now everything is working. So that's how you create a very beautiful login layout. And have a good one, guys, and make sure you subscribe to the channel to promote it, share with your friends, and leave some comments. Thank you.